All right, welcome guys. We have a lot to be discussing in regards to Bitcoin. We have some indications whether or not the Fed is going to be holding rates overall in the next, 6 days that the FOMC meeting is going to be taking place. So we're going to be talking about some of the chart analysis on the bigger time frames, shorter time frames for Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about this space, why this is going to create so many millionaires overall in a short amount of time with the lowest risk possible. So we're going to be discussing all that, Zen, Titanx, guys. So stick around till the end of the video. You don't want to miss this information. If you enjoy this content, guys, where I come out with strategies, talk about, crypto assets that are going to do well, give this video a thumbs up, guys, because it is free at the end of the day, and it pushes this video to more people so that they can also maximize their portfolio in the next bull market. So let's go ahead and get started into the video, guys. So we see the Bank of Canada essentially holding rates. Now they did have a more hawkish tone essentially, and the reason being is because they don't want to see unemployment essentially tick down, and they want to see commodities and services to essentially hold off inflation. And with that being said, more likely leading into the next 6 days for the FOMC meeting as well too. So this is just an indicator of what could be possibly happening in the States as well too. Within about 6 days, we're gonna more likely see that the rates are gonna stay stagnant with a high probable favor of 97, almost 98% that the rates are not gonna be changing. So what does this actually mean for Bitcoin overall? Well, this is good because again, it gives a chance for Bitcoin to start moving up. And the Dixie more likely continuing that downtrend that we're continuing to see, which we're going to be talking about at this moment real quick here. So we can see that what we're expecting here leading into, again, to the FOMC meeting, I've been talking about this, guys, for, the past week or so, is more likely we're going to see it test this particular resistance area around the 104 area. And then once the FOMC meeting happens, and if, things stay stagnant and there's no change in terms of the rates, then I expect, this continuation in the downtrend for the Dixie compared to, again, whether you want to call Bitcoin a risk-on assets or risk-off asset, then more likely Bitcoin will continue on and upwards from here. So again, that's a good sign, playing in favor of Bitcoin. The other thing that's playing in favor of Bitcoin is that we're seeing all-time high in terms of open interest. So what this specifically means is that, again, things are going to become very, very volatile. Now, whether or not this is going to be playing out to the short or long positions, we don't know yet, because the actual CME report is going to be coming out on December 12th, and that report will tell us what sentiment investors are in, whether they're basically going to long Bitcoin or they're going to short. My suggestion is that, because again, if the rates essentially stay stagnant leading into the next 6 days, and again, if the ETF is going to be coming out next year, also that's good as well too, which plays into the hype for Bitcoin, and also the halving as well too. So you have these three things essentially playing in favor for Bitcoin to continue on, and more likely looking at the $50,000 target area. So you have the halving event, you have the ETF, and you have the Dixie essentially continuing its downtrend, which again, this is the perfect storm for Bitcoin to actually continue on and upwards from here. So with that being said, let's jump on to the Bitcoin chart. So we can see Bitcoin is still hovering around the 43,794 area, which is again getting rejected at the 706 area, guys. I don't want to repeat myself, because I feel sometimes I'm over repeating myself if you haven't watched the previous videos. We know that we're expecting targets at the 786. And the 786 is a key area, because that is putting Bitcoin at 50,000 key psychological level, and also putting Bitcoin really close to that $1 trillion market capitalization, which is also a key psychological level in terms of the market cap. So the good thing is, look, as long as we continue to stay really above 38 to 39,000, this momentum for Bitcoin will continue on and upwards. If we really start to fall below 35,000, this is where I will actually get concerned and looking for more of a downtrending move on the mid time frames from here. So let's look at, again, the The Bitcoin chart, if we look at the 4 hourly, just the shorter time frames, just going to zoom in, as you can see, guys, there's a nice chunk of support in this area on the shorter time frames around the 38,000. So even if Bitcoin were looking to take a short-term downtrending move to these areas, long term the macro hasn't been affected, right? So which is good. But anything really starting below the 35,000, you are looking at targets again coming down to this area of $30,000. Again, $30,000, guys, still confluence of support, but I want to maintain these higher highs and higher lows again on like the daily, so that that uptrend can stay intact and look pretty healthy overall. So with that being said, the chart that I like to watch overall, which we've gone over quite some time in terms of this, if we look at the 2-day for the market cap USDT dominance, which is the top chart that you see here, comparing that with the Bitcoin price chart, we can see every time, again, the the USDT dominance gains strength against the market, Bitcoin essentially tends to put a downtrending move. So with that being said, on the 2-day, we are seeing the 200 essentially cross the 55-day moving averages, which basically spells a death cross on the 2-day. So that's why we're actually seeing that move, that tick up, the resilience of Bitcoin actually breaking above $40,000 is because, the investors that are coming in, they're feeling that sentiment. They're moving out of USDT. You're seeing that in this particular drop right here, while Bitcoin essentially starts to actually rally to the upside. So with that being said, where can that next area of support for the USDT dominance come in? Well, if we look on the 3-day, we're starting to continue that downtrending move, more likely as long as we continue to really stay below 6.69%. We're actually going to see another death cross on the 3-day as well too. Now more likely on the 5-day as well too. Here we are trading below the 200 day moving average on the 5-day, which is going to be interesting to see. It's going to be closing in about 2 days and 47 minutes. What I'd like to see in that next 5-day candle is whether or not it actually can regain this as support and more likely look for some sort of bounce, which we can see Bitcoin again come back, retest this area as support around the upper side of $37,000 to $38,000. Hold it as support for a little while, because we can see we want to turn this area into support, guys. This area, we want to actually turn it into support for further macro continuation to the upside. On the weekly, once that actually holds, and if USDT dominance continues to trail down, the next support area is coming in at 525, which is where I think this is where Bitcoin will get to, again, that 50,000, that $1 trillion market cap for Bitcoin, which is going to be very major. These targets are very important to actually look at overall. So let's go ahead and actually shift gears and talk about, what's actually been happening in terms of the discussion with BRC20 and where I think the most millionaires are going to be created if this run actually continues on and forward from here. And that is the BRC20 space, guys. The BRC20 space is still brand new, right? A 451, again, in market cap, as you guys can see here, 451 million in terms of market cap is a very low number. This number can grow substantially, hundreds of X's overall. And why can this create millionaires in the next bull market is because the risk to reward in terms of how you're actually investing in BRC20s that differentiate from the 2017 times to 2020 times in regards to DeFi is because you're only putting in the miner fee. So you're paying the miner fee to essentially create these BRC20. And the miner fees are usually about $10 to $15 depending on, the day and time of when you're actually transacting on the Bitcoin network. But again, usually it's around $10 to $15, give or take, maybe a little bit higher. But we even saw that essentially happen with Ethereum, where we start to see Titanx. You're essentially creating these mines or mints or whatever you want to call them. You're basically paying the transaction cost to essentially create those miners. Eventually, once they mature, they're way over the price of where you actually mine them, which is more than breaking even, hopefully. Same thing with Zen. You're basically able to go in and mine. So you're able to mint Zen NFTs. You're able to do vanilla mints, just paying the gas fee. So by doing that, guys, you're able to get a substantial amount in terms of that particular crypto asset. So you're able to basically, for that gas fee or that miner fee, you're able to get thousands of that particular of that asset, right? And these have grown substantially, guys. So if you would have invested in Ordi and you were able to pay the miner fees, cents to dollars, then if you count that, you were able to get 4,000 or 5,000 per mine. Then you're looking at this is a particular steal, guys, right? It's crazy the amount of money that you could basically make in regards to this, and why I think this is a whole different ball game for Bitcoin. But what we're seeing is that BRC20s are essentially being attacked because they're more likely spamming the Bitcoin network and making Bitcoin more expensive in terms of that. So there are some, policies that are looking to be passed to make inscriptions, the inscription is not possible on the Bitcoin blockchain. So with that being said, guys, if that actually passes through, which I don't think it will, but if it does, it could speak volumes in terms of if Bitcoin is really centralized, if that's the case. So again, these BRC20s are, meme tokens. They don't have much of a utility, but hopefully, just like we saw with Ethereum, we're starting to see development come in where we're starting to see DeFi come into, Bitcoin overall, and that is creating more financial products and services. Now, whether or not to say we can't actually do that on the Bitcoin blockchain, who has that say, right? That is the most important part. Who has that say, and whether or not we should be able to do that. I think we should be able to do that. Real decentralization allows you to do that, but the way they are putting it out there is that this is affecting the security of the Bitcoin network. And at the end of the day, if we can't make Bitcoin more secure, then we should basically move on from whatever is making Bitcoin secure. At the end of the day, guys, no matter what, Zen essentially tested, the scalability issues on a lot of networks, okay? Even on Bitcoin with VMPX and all that, guys, we know that scalability is an issue, but we don't run away from scalability. We're supposed to be able to essentially resolve these problems without actually, again, you want to be able to transact, guys. How are you going to bring in millions of people, right, to be transacting? And we've seen that Bitcoin, has taken this theory of gold and things like that. But again, I'll leave you off with this. Let me know in the comment section whether or not this is actually right. And until next time, bros, as always, stay profitable.